Moving on to another subject, there's been some talk on social media in the last week about some greyhounds apparently going to Pakistan. Now, I'm not going to get into the top and bottom of it, and people can make any assumption of that. I'm avoiding the issue. I don't have the facts. There's lots of speculation. But I will kick off with the following statement. If I knew where the dog was going to, I would have no hesitation about sending a dog to Pakistan. And I say that on the basis that I know Pakistan greyhound people. There is a solid bedrock of them within British racing. And I was lucky enough to get to know one guy particularly well, a guy called Naeem Ahmed, who's Naz, as he's known, English-born Pakistani, Pakistani heritage, parents still live out in Pakistan. Naz was brought up in Lancashire, and I had quite a number of dogs with Nick Sava. And some of them, occasional one, would be sent out to Pakistan. And when I was writing the book Sava, I spent a lot of time with Nick and with Naz, and he would show me videos, show me pictures, explaining really what it was all about. And it was clear to me that when the dogs go out, at least as far as his dealings were, those dogs were going out to be treated like princes. When Naz's father took a dog over and they would enter it in the races, they were quite wealthy. When they went racing in 4x4s. So, forget this idea about beggars and God knows what. Some of the people from the village were clearly less wealthy, but they would follow that dog. He was their king. The dog, they would treat the dog. I saw the videos of kids loving the dog, being there, winning trophies. The whole village was in celebration. I've met other people when I was on Facebook. I'm no longer on Facebook. I had quite a few Asian greyhound men enlist me as friends. I'd get a large number of videos, large number of photographs, people as proud as anywhere else. And this is turning a little bit to a monologue here, but I'll ask you to comment in a second. Now, I know in the past, someone was on the phone to me yesterday. I don't divulge who it is because we tend to keep these conversations quiet, and criticising GBGB for seemingly bringing in an edict that said that greyhounds shouldn't be sent to these countries unless they had a decent welfare record. Now, I find that a very difficult thing to judge, and certainly I think Mark Bird made the statement. I haven't got the exact wording, but I think I get the essence of it, and I thoroughly understand why he said what he said. It related to the exports to China, which we've talked about, and this particular caller then suggested that Pakistan was no different. Now, I am gravely concerned, and some of the stuff I've read and some of the stuff I've read from the anti-organisations, I have no doubt whatsoever is racist. It is racist, and I've said, what if these dogs were going to Poland? What if they were going to Germany? What if they were going to... No, these are going to a Muslim country. Maybe that's the key. Maybe it's a bit of a religious thing going on. Maybe it's a bit of a skin thing going on. And the answer I was given was that no, it's a country that doesn't have adequate welfare laws for animals. Now, I don't know what the welfare laws for animals are like in Belgium or Denmark or Romania. And when you examine it, if you're going to go down that route, at what point do you say, well, according to the Florida legislators, greyhounds shouldn't really be sent to Florida because let's face it, they had to be closed down on welfare grounds. When I was a kid, Spain, should we be sending dogs to Spain? Now, I love Spain. I love the country. I love the people. I love everything about the place. It would be the country I would next like to live in after England. But the Spanish, is that can they really be trusted with welfare? If we listen to RTE, should we be sending dogs back to Ireland? Because if, according to RTE, greyhounds are abused and I don't know, all kinds of horrible things done to them. So the bottom line is of this whole story is that if you can not guarantee where your dog is going and you're not comfortable, I wouldn't want to send a dog to Stoke unless I knew who it was going to. I'd rather send it to Nazi's family in Pakistan because I know damn well it would be better looked after. And I don't know if anybody else has any other input on that particular subject.
Myself, Floyd, I never sell or my dogs go anywhere else apart from pet homes. And it was born and bred into me by my father years and years ago, because he sold a dog, and he said he saw this dog that he'd sold to somebody else who were racing, and he said it made him cry. The dog was in poor condition, and he said then, he says, I'd never ever sell a dog again to me. And I haven't. They've always gone to the retired greyhound centres, and they've got pet homes. And even then, sometimes, we've seen dogs in the papers before that they've gone to pet homes and things have gone wrong. In the pet homes, and dogs have turned up on the streets in poor condition. So, you don't know sometimes, even with that. But I couldn't live with myself if one of my dogs went somewhere and it wasn't in good condition and it wasn't treated right and something could happen to it. So I don't sell my dogs. People often ring me to ask if I've got a dog for sale because they think it's not suited to Nottingham. And I've actually had people say to me, your dog's not suited to Nottingham. And I say, I know it's not, but I don't sell my dogs. I have sent a couple down to, trainers like Jim Reynolds before now when he was on Romford. But they're always in my name still, and I keep them, and then they go to the RGT. So it's just something I wouldn't do. I wouldn't send the dog anywhere else.
Yeah, I know. And again, we'll pull off all the scabs here. You personally had all sorts of abuse about a missing number of dogs, and the subject still comes up.
Yeah.
And I've had it quite recently. And was it 58?
No, 68. And then until it was /69. But the Star Penry stewards, David, yourself could come at any point in time and see my books and see how many. We've all lost dogs. I'm never going to stand here and turn around and say I haven't had a dog put to sleep, because you'd be telling lies. You can get really serious injuries. I mean, the one we lost Salikas Koeman, and absolutely gutted me and Mark. It was Mark who I shared with the dog. He was supposed to be going back to Liverpool that night. He came, the dog was been strapped up. We went down to see Daniel Doherty the next day to try and sort the dog out. And there's just nothing we could do for the dog. And it just broke her heart, absolutely broke her heart. So, everybody in life, in greyhound racing, sometimes the worst thing can ever happen. But the lies, what people tell you, just I know the lies, and the only person I want to make sure I'm true to myself, and I know they're all lies. So,
the one thing I can remember was that at the time that it came out, and Mark Pierpont was particularly incensed and started sending me stuff through, and we start producing. I think it was even back in the newspaper days before we were even online. It might have been online, I can't remember. And we had some of your ex-owners, or some of the people who'd homed some of your dogs, and this is Salikas this or Salikas that. And so I started to produce them, and with the photograph of the owner and some thoughts about the owner. This is Mrs. So-and-so, she lives in Cleethorpes, and she's got Salikas this or Salikas that. And I stopped doing it after a while. I think we got up to about 15.
Yeah, you wasted with these people.
Well, in the end, I stopped it because people were saying, "Well, you can't prove that fawn dog is Salikas this. That could be any dog." And you're going, "What is the point? Why bother? Why bother?" Yeah. And that's pretty much the line I've got to with the antis. I don't care anymore. They must do what they must do. They could go wash them themselves. I'm not interested. They're not going to change their tune, providing we're happy with doing what we do. That's all we can ask for.
I've seen people on the internet before where dogs have got knocked over, and then people said, "Oh, can you show us that dog's all right?" And I've seen people putting a picture of the dog on there, and they're saying, "Oh, we want to see the earmarks to make sure this." And I think stuff. You know what? Do we in real life go around questioning people ourselves to other people? "Oh, what's happened about this? What you do?" No, we're regulated. We're done. We're all okay. So I'm not, if I've got someone like Dave or yourself said to me, Peter, just to make sure it's 100%, can we have a look at your books? Sir, I've got nothing to hide. Of course you can, Floyd. Of course you can, Dave. My own owners and stuff, they know where the dog's gone. And I've had owners who's had a share with me and their dogs have been up on that sort of list. And it really upsets them. And I say to them, you know what? You don't have to let it upset you. It's just, God's one. And how it works is, you put your dog into the RGT, it's like going to a foster or being adopted.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had your child adopted, you wouldn't know where that child was because people don't want it following up. The only time we actually know where these dogs are after they've been to the RGT is when people contact us.
Yeah.
And actually, the Salica's dogs have actually got quite a good following. And I actually said to Mark, I said, should we have really like a Salica's retired day for dogs where they can all turn up at the kennels or something and come and we have a bit of a show sort of day? Because we actually do get a following of the Salica's dogs because they're around children. Our dogs are quite family sort of orientated and they make good pets. And so, when somebody's had a Salica's, they want to get another one. So
there is one a little addition to this because I want to keep changing. We've got several subjects to cover. Just today, I had something come through from Crayford, and it was a spreadsheet, and it was all their races, where they'd all gone. I think it was absolutely brilliant of Entain that they produced it. They produced a sheet and went out to all the trainers, every single dog, where it was, whether it was still in the kennel or naming the specific home finding kennel that they'd gone to. So everything was done.
But did it name the private individuals who own the dog? It wouldn't have done that because you can't do that.
No, because ultimately, as you say, it might be 3 months later that dog goes into Lincolnshire Home Finders. 3 months later, it goes to a lady in Cleethorpes.
Yeah.
The owner, the trainer's never going to know about that. All it knows is that I put it into that particular home finding scheme.
And
again,
I had it that bad, Floyd. People had seen. I get on really, real well with Ruth at Daybreak Kennels.
Yeah.
And she would ring me up now and again and say, Peter, we've got people who want a bitch. Have you got a bitch? And I'd say, yeah, of course they will. Even if my dogs are running and they're getting a bit older, if a good home comes up, I'll turn around and go, you know what? They're probably running for the next 6 months, but if they've got a good home now, they can go. So I let Ruth have a bitch now and again. And then I got told I was dumping dogs on Birmingham RGT when I'm attached to Nottingham. I'm like, they've actually rang me up.
Yeah.
Because of the home for a bitch, and you haven't got any bitch on your system. So I've let them have one of my bitches. And it's like, oh, come on, get a life, all of you. You must be sad.
You cannot win. And anybody that's kind of looking into this Zoom call, who kind of looks at the ground industry, understand why we're cynical, why we're fed up, no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, no matter what we try to do. If you're of that opinion, as a little bit like David was saying earlier, if you're convinced that we're all dirty, filthy dog abusers, we ain't going to change your mind. So just get on with it and do what you do.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how I am. People say to me, you must have thick skin. I think so. I haven't. I've actually got a better life than them because they're that sad. They've got nothing else in their life. They've got to come up with lies or think bad about people. And I think so. I've got a better life than to be worried about these people.